I'm sure your friend will be missing this tonight. It's light on the reading, but it's got some interesting photos.
Now, Ellie, that ain't for kids.
Whoa! How the hell would he even walk around with that thing?
Get rid of that.
Hold your horses. I want to see what all the fuss is about. Oh, why are these all stuck together? I'm just fucking with you. Bye-bye, dude.
A little over a year ago, developer Naughty Dog released The Last of Us, their PlayStation 3 swansong, that released to utterly fantastic critical acclaim and financial and chart success. Sony, not missing a trick, have now decided to bring that game to the PlayStation 4 in the hopes that they can double dip on previous customers while also selling to all the Xbox converts who have jumped over to the PlayStation 4 within the last year. However, with such a short space of time between its original release and this remastered release, and a next-gen price tag now attached to it, is this one game that's worth playing through again?
What? I don't hear anything.
Okay, double time.
They're coming.
I know!
Okay, that's good, go.
You got something on your shoe. Gross.
Of course, the answer is yes, The Last of Us is still as strong a game as it was a year ago. In fact, this remastered edition that we now have is perhaps a stronger release thanks to the inclusion of all DLC and the fact that Naughty Dog have really taken the time to go into the PlayStation 4 and make use of its extra muscle. When The Last of Us launched on PlayStation 3 last year, both myself and Cash here at ScreenHogUK sat down and did an extensive audio podcast review for The Last of Us. So I don't want to dwell on a huge amount of detail. So if you want the lowdown and the intricate detail on why you need to play The Last of Us, head over to the review for the PlayStation 3 version, because everything we said about that version still stands. But just to give you an overview of why you really should be playing The Last of Us is that its 10 to 15 hour long story mode marries really, really slick and brutal survival gameplay with a story and a drama, sense of drama that you rarely see in video games, brought to life by some fantastic voice acting and some absolutely spectacular motion capture technology that's all tied together with some absolutely beautiful visuals.
Seriously, you gotta take that kid back to where you found her.
I can't just take her back.
Then send her packing, let her find her own way. Look, let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, I had somebody that I cared about. It was a partner. Somebody I had to look after. And in this world, that sort of shit's good for one thing. Getting you killed. So you know what I did? I wisened the fuck up. And I realized it's gotta be just me.
Bill, it ain't like that. It's
Bullshit. It is just like that. Hey! What'd I say to you when we walked down the steps? What'd I say?
I'm just fixing your stupid pile.
Don't touch. God damn it.
Voice actors Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson, who voiced Joel and Ellie respectively, do a fantastic job of really, really selling you this ever-developing, ever-shifting, very human relationship between the two central characters. And in particular, Ashley Johnson really, really sells Ellie as a character. In fact, I really, every time I talk about The Last of Us, I can never gush about how much I absolutely love Ellie as a character. She's a marvelous, she's a sweet, human, interesting, deep and layered character that's been brought to life in a way that I've never seen in a video game before. I absolutely love her, and Ashley Johnson nails it. The quality of the voice acting also goes into the extended cast as well for other characters that you come across. There are no characters here that are kind of cardboard cutouts and that are kind of just disposable. They're all feel human. They all have their own motivations. Some of them aren't quite how they first seem. They feel like characters within this really, really well-crafted world, which in itself manages to revitalize the zombie genre by giving them this really seedy, skin-crawling, awful twist that it's this real-world fungus, this parasitic fungus that exists within insects in the real world, and just giving it the story that it's actually mutated and jumped to humans to create these infected that are reminiscent to the things that the creatures you see in movies like the Dawn of the Dead remake or 28 Days Later, except with fungal growths and all sorts of nasty stuff that really makes your skin crawl when they get up nice and close and personal, and they do quite frequently through the lengthy campaign. So on top of this really, really awesome setting that feels like a real-world post-apocalyptic, nature-gone-wrong take on the zombie genre, on the infected genre, you've got this absolutely fantastic story, not so much for what the story does or what it tries to tell, but for the characters that are in it and the natural dialogue that features within it and the flawless pacing that keeps you moving constantly. And The Last of Us only ever seems to actively sit there on a load screen and load in when you first start the game up. After that, if you start into the campaign, it never ever stops coming. It's broken into chapters of a sort, but because they all end on such a heavy note, and this game does hit hard in the emotional stakes, you always want to press on and find out what's happening next. And it's this setting and this sense of pace and story and character that make this game head and shoulders above most of the competition out there. However, that's not to say that the gameplay is second fiddle, because it's a great example of how to do a third-person stealth action game. The gunplay is frantic and desperate. Aiming has to be done relatively slowly, and ammo is so scarce because you're a forager at the end of the world trying to conserve and gather the supplies when you can do. So gunplay is there, but it almost takes a backseat to stealth and guerrilla tactics and being clever with your limited supplies. And this is all kind of layered on top of a crafting system that allows you to craft useful tools that use resource that you scavenge from buildings as you go through them. And the resources, there's different types of resources such as bandages or alcohol or sharp objects, and each different category of resource can be used for a different purpose, and they overlap. So you need alcohol and bandages to create a first aid kit, but you also need the same items to create a Molotov cocktail. So what do you create? And the fact that all these items are useful means that there's some genuinely difficult and tense decisions, again particularly on the higher difficulty levels where supplies and resources are so scarce that you sweat when you're aiming a gun because you can't afford to miss the shot and fuck up and be left defenseless. And it just adds a great sense of tension. And on top of the stealth mechanics, which are solid, and the shooting mechanics, which are tense and exciting, and this resource management minigame and the crafting, which has to be done on real time, that just adds an additional pressure to you, especially in high intensity situations where things are actively coming after you. You have this amazing melee combat system that gives you this kind of desperate last resource when things are up in your grill and you're desperately searching around for ammo and supplies to get through. And it makes great use of the fantastic animation, and accompanied by some fucking awful but yet sickeningly satisfying sound effects as you pound the flesh of humans and infected alike, or take a lead pipe to them and really just batter the fuck out of them in a desperate frenzy just so you can survive. The Last of Us's gameplay ultimately comes together. It throws a lot of different aspects together, and they're all really, really satisfying and all really, really fun, and add to the atmosphere and complement the desperate nature and the desperate themes of the story and the subject matter. And it just comes together to create a marvellous package that warrants multiple playthroughs. I've now played through the game. I'm starting my third playthrough of the remastered version, and I've completed it on the survivor difficulty, which was the original highest difficulty that limits supplies to desperate levels and takes away Joel's ability to listen, which allowed you to see people through walls and such. So it makes the stealth much harder but much more important, and it was fantastic. I can't, the fact that it's so lengthy, it's so high quality, and it warrants multiple playthroughs on a level that I've not seen a single player game demand since the original Metal Gear Solid for me. This is, I can't sing the campaign's praises high enough. It's poignant, it stays with you well after the credits rolled, and if that's all this remastered release for the PlayStation 4 offered, it would possibly be, I'd still recommend it, especially to those who haven't played it before.
Okay, we need to lighten the mood. Ready? It doesn't matter how much you push the envelope, it'll still be stationary.
What is that?
It's a joke book. No pun intended. Volume 2 by Will Livingston.
Let's keep going.
I tried to catch some fog earlier. I missed. Do you know what's not right?
Left?
Yeah. That's awesome. What does a pirate say while eating sushi?
I don't know what.
Ahoy! Pass me some soy. I don't get it. People are making apocalypse jokes like there's no tomorrow. Too soon. That's it. That's all I got.
However, I had played the game on the PlayStation 3, and yet this remastered package still offered a lot of extra goodies for me to enjoy. Now, the first bonus that you kind of get with this, I mentioned earlier on that you had all the DLC bundled in with it. Now, the major bit of DLC, which I was mostly interested in playing, was the added single-player episode called Left Behind, which focuses primarily on Ellie, which suited me down to the ground because I think she is my favourite character, there's no question about it. She's amazing. And this this Left Behind DLC package, it focuses on her and it fills out her backstory and fleshes out her as a character really and some of her motivations, and it pads out some of the things she mentions in the main game, and it just felt like a very natural segment of story, and it's equally high quality, and it largely focuses on her prior to the start of the main game's campaign, and it's her and a friend going out and sneaking out of the military academy they're from and going around a shopping mall. And to be honest, to my surprise, there's not actually a great deal of combat or action in this. It's largely story focused in exploring Ellie as a character and her motivations, and it focuses on Ellie, the fact that Ellie is a 14-year-old girl and she's a kid, and a lot of it's her dicking about with a friend in a mall, and it's what struck me about it is it's only about 2 to 3 hours long, depending on how quickly you progress through things or what difficulty you're playing on. But this is possibly the sweetest and happiest part of The Last of Us I've played, but also some of the most heartbreaking moments, and that's saying a lot considering the main campaign really does not pull any punches whatsoever. I mean, this really kind of got me towards the end of this DLC. It really got me, and it was amazing. How often do games do that in a really earnest, legitimate way, and it's impressive. And this DLC comes with its own set of collectibles and its own set of trophies. There's a lot of series of mini games that you can play through, and again, it all plays up to Ellie just being a little, just being a kid, and it's really sweet. And I think anybody who enjoyed the main campaign will find a lot to enjoy about the Left Behind DLC, and it's certainly another feather in this game's cap.
What? Yes! Rick fucking Master!
My car had tougher windows.
Yeah, whatever, loser.
Now, you see it a lot these days where studios make a single-player game, and that's what they want to do. And yet their publishers or their overlords, as it were, come in and say, no, you need to have a multiplayer game because we want to sell map packs or whatever. You need a multiplayer game to make it a big title. Multiplayer is what makes games popular, And, I honestly thought that The Last of Us would be guilty of this. I thought, it's going to have some kind of tacked-on multiplayer. But that's not the case. The multiplayer here is great. It's unique, it's well thought out, and it takes the best aspects of the gameplay from the single player and successfully applies it to a multiplayer format. Now, just a quick overview is that in the multiplayer, it's small-scale 4v4 matches where one team, when you go into multiplayer, you have to swear allegiance to a group, either the hunters, who are the ragtag bandits that exist within the wilds of America, or the fireflies, the kind of freedom fighters who are looking for a cure to the infection. Now, you pledge allegiance to one of them, and you play this kind of meta game with the better you do inside your matches, the more supplies you're able to gather while you're playing matches, the better your tribe does. It thrives and it develops from there. And it's great. I mean, it's a kind of cool little meta game that gives a bit of weight and a bit of consequence to your action. And there's a kind of general story, like each match that you play constitutes a day, and you have to get through 12 weeks worth of story, and there's different challenges that come up that threaten your tribe, and you have to maintain it, and people die or people get sick or infected, and it really kind of makes you think that, no, I need to do well in this match, because if I don't, my tribe's going to suffer. And it's quite a nice little twist. But the gameplay itself, as I say, it's 4v4, small scale, stealth, action based matches where teamwork and coordination is very important. It has a strange kind of, I don't know, like a Counter-Strike style shop where the better you do, you can buy upgrades to your gear, but it also uses loadouts to let you select your weapons as you go into the match. It's a strange game, but it works very well, and the level design is really fun and complements the gameplay of sneaking around. The gunplay, again, is solid, it feels fun, and it's really tense. And the multiplayer is actually made even better by the fact that the 2 DLC map packs that were released for the PS3 version are again included here. So right out the box on the PlayStation 4, you have a very healthy rotation of maps. You can't really, you don't get bored. You're not playing the same 3 maps, and none of them are really that bad. In fact, most of them are pretty good. I've never had a match where I think, oh, not this map again. They're all good in their own way. Some of them are better than others, but none of them are bad, which is quite an achievement in itself, because usually when you find in multiplayer games there's always a couple of duff maps, and maybe I haven't played the multiplayer enough to really find them, but thus far there's not a lot to complain about with the Last of Us multiplayer. It's fun, it's interesting, and I think, well, I'm hoping it has legs. I would think it does, because as far as I understand, it's still played on the PlayStation 3, and the PS4 has a larger online community, or at least a more active one, as far as I'm aware. So let's hope this becomes a multiplayer mainstay for the PlayStation 4 owners. Hands down, I can wholeheartedly recommend The Last of Us Remastered. If you haven't played this game before, you're getting the best version possible. You're getting the full 10 to 15 hour campaign that will hit you really hard emotionally, like games rarely do, while also delivering a fantastic gameplay experience. The DLC episode, Left Behind, will extend that experience in some new, fun and interesting ways that just help pad out the world and make it feel even more lived in and well realised. And the multiplayer almost guarantees you'll have longevity and you'll get your money's worth. There's a huge selection of maps, there's a healthy community, and it's being actively patched all the time to improve the experience. Not that I've had many issues with it myself, although I do understand that matchmaking can be slow for a lot of people. Regardless, it's a great experience, and the fact that this particular version of The Last of Us runs at native 1080p and 60 frames per second, and that's a solid, never dips below, never fucking budges from 60 frames per second option. It's amazing. It looks absolutely spectacular. It plays fantastic. And you know what? This is the best game on the PlayStation 4, and it's a fantastic value package. And the fact that already in the UK you can pick it up for £30 if you shop around a little bit. I think I paid about £35 for it, but you can get it for as little as £30 if you shop around. And I haven't even mentioned the fact that you have bonuses like the Grounded mode DLC, which adds an extra difficulty mode on top of Survivor, which I haven't tried yet, but I can only imagine is utterly fucking brutal. And the fact that you've got the added bonus of a director's commentary over the top of the game, which again I haven't used, but I'm going to, because I'm really interested to see what went into creating this fantastic story and this fantastic game. This is a package. It's the way I see it is, if you haven't played this game before, there's no reason why you shouldn't own this. There's no reason why you shouldn't be playing it right now. It's fucking amazing. If you have played this and you really liked it, I looked upon it like buying my favourite or a favourite film on Blu-ray, having already owned it on DVD. That's the way I looked at it. So I can't sing this game's praises enough. And as such, I'm not giving this 4 stars, I'm not giving this 5 stars, I'm giving this the ScreenHog Supernova an editor's choice. So there you go.
After all we've been through. Everything that I've done. It can't be for nothing.